Welcome back. Blake Cousins, Third Phase of Moon, along with my brother Brent, who met up with Stephen Bassett in Santa Monica. He just so happened to fly in from Washington, D.C. We heard that he was in town. We said, let's get this interview right now. Enjoy, everybody. Steve, you're over here in Los Angeles. We're going to be meeting up in a few minutes here. I know there's been some discussion that we had earlier that you heard that there's going to be something else coming in, that we just had the preliminary reports, but what are we expecting in from the Congress in the next couple weeks?
Well, the classified report has been put out. That was on June 25, wasn't much. A 73-page, I say unclassified report. A 73-page classified report was delivered to the Congress, 4 committees, 2 weeks prior, around June 16. They've had that now for weeks to review. And now the Senate's back in session, and you could theoretically get a call for hearings at any time from Rubio or somebody else. However, these 2 huge bills that Biden is trying to get through are now at a critical point. So we're not going to get anything right away. But I expect at some point we will get the formal announcement from the Senate Intel Committee, could be Rubio, could be Warner, could be both, that, yeah, we're going to hold hearings and hopefully pin a date to it. If they try to do something like, well, yeah, we're going to have hearings, we're thinking maybe the winter, maybe early next year, they're going to get a load of back push from the internet on that. Social media is not going to want to hear that. I don't think they're going to be stupid enough to do that. They expect hearings, they expect them soon, and so consequently, if I'm right, unless something else intervenes, some other thing happens, we could very well have these hearings underway at least by mid-August.
So let me ask you this, Steve. There was this classified, top secret behind closed doors with the Congress. What do you think they saw? Were they privy to some of these videos that we haven't seen, like crystal clear video footage of these unknown objects, this aerial phenomenon?
We know they got a 73-page written report. We know that there were some people briefing them. We know they also saw some films. And Richard Dolan received a leak from what he considered a good source that had been talked to by somebody that was actually in the hearings, a staffer, and it was quite revealing. And I encourage people to hunt it down on the internet, where they listed a number of items, namely that, most importantly, the committees were given a briefing on all of our advanced propulsion projects, including anti-gravitics, which is intense. And that was a big deal. They even mentioned that they were doing some research on materials and put in parentheses, ET related. That was pretty intense.
That's good.
And then they apparently they were told that all these advanced propulsion systems that we are experimenting with, by the way, under DARPA, through a group called Group 6, these are specific statements. These are all being done like the Nellis test range, which is where we assume they were being done, which is notable. And they indicated that some sightings may be connected to those. But then, here's the killer, they said these propulsion systems are never tested outside of the Nellis range, which means they can't be the Tic Tac. They can't be these other vehicles that we were seeing. So that alone, if that's what the committee received, is a pretty clear message that, well, this is serious, and this is something we need to hold hearings on. So I feel extremely good about how things have gone. I'm not dissatisfied with the public report, because that's about the most they could put out to the public. That's always been the case, but they had to put something out. It's a classified report, and it's already started to leak possibly, and I would speculate that the DOD knew that there would be leaks. You don't brief something like 70 members of Congress and not get leaks. And I think they wanted those leaks. In other words, if anything is going to come out, either by leak or by other means, the DOD does not want to be doing that. It's not their prerogative to put out that information. And so Rubio says, give us the report, make some of it public. They're going, oh, we don't want to do that. But they came up with a way to put out something that wasn't going to be too disruptive. It's the Congress that needs to get that material. And they make the decision, and that takes the DOD off the hook. So it's playing out pretty much as we thought it would. And then the Congress makes the decision to hold hearings. Witnesses are called. And that testimony, which will be watched by hundreds of millions of people, and be high quality, primarily all, if not all, military witnesses, that is the testimony that provides the president the ability to confirm the ET presence in a way that's neither going to be shocking or detrimental to either the presidency or the Congress or the DOD or anything. In other words, this is the responsible way for this to happen, and that's exactly how it's happening.
So, Steve, I know you're in the neighborhood, and we're going to meet up at the Third Phase of Moon Base. So let's get it set up. I know it seems like there's a slow rollout, and it's trickling in. Some people are complaining out there that why not just give us a big enchilada and just tell us what the hell's going on. But I guess there's these loopholes or kind of, hurdles that we got to go through before they're going to give it to the public. So let's get into this discussion when you get here, all right? All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Steve, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Welcome to California.
It's about time.
Let's take it inside. We got some things we're talking about. I know it's been, it seems like they're trickling it down slow to me. They're not giving it to us as fast as they should.
Let me tell you, it's been trickling for a long time. What's going on now seems like a fire hose.
Yeah.
Really, compared to 1947 to 1990, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm happy with the pace.
I think the major concern by the public, at least our audience, is that they're not, giving us this technology up front. They've been holding on to it for, 74 years now. Mm-hmm. People are kind of angry that this technology hasn't benefited humankind all this time. Why don't they just come out overnight and just give it to us? You think people are going to panic? Is this the major deal? Like the public, we can't handle the truth?
It's human nature. I used to run marathons. And I wasn't in great shape. I was just a finished marathon kind of guy. So it was always going to be painful. So I'd be out there running on and on and on. And finally, I'd see the finish line. And at that point, you're thinking, oh man, I got to get going. I want to finish. Let's get this done. So you're trying to get going. But you're pretty much completely exhausted, right? And you realize, I just need to kind of calm down and I just need to keep going and eventually I'll finish. This is human nature. After all these years, as we get close, people are saying, yeah, okay, finish line, let's go. They just want to leap there, right? Just boom, I'm across that, I feel good. No, this is more than just a marathon. This is probably one of the most profound transitions in all of human history going down here. It's taken longer than we like, but it's three-dimensional chess, it's complicated. There's all kinds of entities, agencies, people, and everything involved. And so it's got to be done, even though we're close. It doesn't mean we can just go, what do they call it, when you put your arms behind you and you race forward?
But are they going to admit that they've been hiding it all this time, though?
Obviously, well, we already know that. Will they formally acknowledge it? Yeah. Is that essential to ending the truth embargo? No. First, you just need to do what is necessary to put the president in a position to make the announcement. In the post-disclosure world, once we're on the other side of the disclosure event, the announcement confirmation event, there's going to be plenty of time for apologies and the whys and the wherefores and all of that, but it won't be as painful. In other words, apologize now before disclosure. You're just inviting attack, right? After disclosure, okay, well that's done. All right, we sort of know they're here. Thank you very much. And now you start saying, well, here's the reason for that and here's the reason for this. Totally different. That is the way it needs to be done. And do I expect that? Yes, I do. How far it'll go? I don't know. How deep it'll go? We'll see. I believe over enough time. And how much time that is, I'm not sure. The world's people will come to know pretty much everything that happened in the last 74 years, what the government knows and has achieved and what have you.
So you think we're going to actually see like the Roswell crash, the craft itself, the sports model, whatever, the alien
vehicles?
Probably. Are we going to get it?
Yeah, that's probably going to happen because it's easy. In other words, you say, look, yeah, Ross, you acknowledge after disclosure that yes, there was a crash vehicle. I don't know about that. No, I don't know about that. I'm just saying that bringing out wreckage or a vehicle and saying, yeah, that's one of the pieces we got. That doesn't, other than you're just confirming that you have a vehicle, people have already known there's an ET presence, and obviously once you know there's an ET presence, for most people that locks down Roswell. So showing them the craft is not going to cause upheaval, it's going to be really cool.
Absolutely.
It's
Do
not
you
like,
think that when the New York Times admitted that that there's this New York Times article that there was off-world vehicles recovered not of this earth, and then the next day within 24 hours they retracted the story? Were they actually?
When was that?
This was about 6 months ago.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Harry Reid kind of said something, and they jumped on it, and Harry then retracted it. That is an instance in which Harry, who is ill, he's in the last day of his life.
So you think there was a mistake made on the verbiage?
I think he slipped up a little bit. He wasn't supposed to say that.
How can he slip up with that kind of language? Like, we recovered off-world vehicles, not of this Earth. Who's stumbling? These words are specific.
I'm not saying that he wasn't saying the truth. I'm simply saying that he wasn't supposed to say that. Mm-hmm. In other words, he's dying. He doesn't have a long time to live. He, like everybody else, is really excited.
So that was the day of disclosure, and then they shut it down the next day, basically.
Disclosure can only come from the president. That was simply Harry Reid getting a little ahead of his skis.
So do you think the president right now, our president right now, is aware of what's going on?
I'm quite sure he's aware. But he really has to stay out of it. In other words, it's important for this process, as it's developing, for the president to stay out of it. Okay, so he is saying...
Why is he supposed to stay out of it? Isn't it his job to basically know everything and make the decisions?
When I say stay out of it, I mean publicly stay out of it. That doesn't mean he doesn't engage the issue to what extent he wishes to. The point is that from the standpoint of public relations and the way it should go down, I believe what's happening is that the hearings that will take place with a huge worldwide audience, big audience, right, will go on for a number of days. And then the president can then say to the American people, I've been watching these hearings along with you. The testimony is riveting. And I have been discussing that testimony with my top people at the Pentagon as well as congressional leaders. And we have come to the conclusion, maybe like many of you, that this evidence does confirm that some of these events are in fact off-world. They are non-human, they're extraterrestrial. To the extent that he stays out of this public stuff right now, it makes it more convincing that, yeah, I'm arriving at this decision along with you. Now, some people will raise their hand and say, you knew about it 25 years ago. Look, you can't avoid that. But the fundamental perception that I'm discussing is ideal in terms of stable politics and in terms of making the executive branch look good. Everybody wins in this scenario. The Congress, the DOD, the military services, the witnesses, the American people, and the president. So why do it a different way? Why do it in such a way that it makes everybody look bad? And so staying out of it is key to this right now. He doesn't want to go on the record. He wants to stay out of it and let the issue be served up to him through the hearing process.
So our former president, obviously, he's had this, huge presence about him. Mm-hmm. Maybe an ego, as some people might say, obviously. Why wasn't he the disclosure president? Was somebody holding him back from revealing this if he indeed knew what was going on? Why didn't he take this glory? Because he's done a lot of things that other traditional presidents haven't done. Why wasn't he the man to put this forward?
Not being a member of the administration, I can only speculate. But here's the reasons that come to my mind. First of all, I believe he came into the presidency with no knowledge of this at all. No engagement, no knowledge, and probably no interest. That's one thing. The second thing is that from the day he was elected until he took the White House, we entered an era of political chaos,
a little bit,
whatever, sure. That almost unprecedented. And so in a sense, his presidency was literally being consumed by his presidency.
But if he revealed this technology, let's just say he went to Area 51 or wherever they have this, and he revealed it to the world, he would be pretty much the equivalent of a messiah at this point. Like any president that brings disclosure to the world will go down,
of course,
in history.
Yeah,
it just seems to me that's
a given. Sure. But you
I don't know why he didn't take advantage of that.
But you got to do it, okay?
Yeah.
If ifs and ands and buts were nuts, the world would never go hungry. Look, as I say, it wasn't in his agenda, his worldview wasn't part of it. He's then consumed by his own presidency in a way. And then there is the DOD problem. It's not hard to, I think, arrive at the conclusion that the DOD, the Department of Defense, was in no way going to assist the president in getting to this issue. And so even if he wanted to, like Carter, like Clinton, it wasn't going to go anywhere.
So, but the president is in charge.
So were they.
So who has the greater power, the DOD or the president in regards to this?
The president has the greater power, but The question is, can you use that power? In other words, the president has the biggest sledgehammer, but does that mean he can take that sledgehammer over to the Pentagon and break through the outer rings? There will be huge political implications from that, disruption and so forth. Plus you have to have the interest, the will, and everything else. He had a lot of interest, but the ET issue wasn't one. Now the ET issue is unfolding all the time. There's news coverage all the time. That's one of the great things about the current time. And so there's stuff in the news that other people are reading. So not surprising, on a few occasions, the question was brought to his attention. And he kind of just put it off. He didn't make a big deal about it. Maybe 3, possibly 4 times. Hell, Clinton was engaged the issue during her campaign many, many times. And so the fact that he was asked a question or two, that is not significant. There was no indication that 1, he was going to seriously go after this issue, and 2, and was his choice, and 2, that the Pentagon would have cooperated if he did, and that was their choice. And so it didn't happen, plain and simple.
So there's this media blackout, it seems, against anybody that wants to talk about this phenomenon. It seems like they have their own people that are only allowed to talk on the major media. You know, we have a struggle even presenting the evidence that we receive from the public to the media because they're only dealing with this military threat kind of scenario. Why aren't they allowing other people, such as yourself, into the major media and discuss this topic? You've been involved in Washington trying to be an advocate to get to disclosure. Why aren't you having this platform like some of these guys that are constantly over the news with the same narrative over and over again?
Sure. Look, first of all, blackout is not the term you want to use.
Okay.
And I've been on CNN, I've been on MSNBC. It was years ago. I need to get back. Here's the way it works. You got X number of producers that do film news in one form or another. I've actually got a database of 800, all right, which I'm starting to use as I climb my way back into major media. And they all got Rolodexes. And if you're in the Rolodex and they got a story, they go through it and they call you. If you're not, they don't. And whether you're in that Rolodex is pretty much dependent upon whether you're out and something's happening and whatever. So say someone like Bob Bigelow. Well, Bob Bigelow goes on 60 Minutes in May of 2016 and 17 rather, I'm sorry, and says, there's extraterrestrials here. He said it twice. His name went into hundreds and hundreds of Rolodexes where it wasn't. Okay, and you can think of other examples of that. And so under that modus operandi, the more you're on, the more you get on. That's how you achieve the ultimate act of appearances on news shows. It is called the full Ginsburg. Now, not a lot of people remember this, but the full Ginsburg came about because the early lawyer of Monica Lewinsky was a fellow named Ginsburg. His first name escapes me. And I think he was the tax attorney or something, whatever. He's the lawyer. And so the Monica Lewinsky breaks. It's just exploding. And so one of the shows calls up him to come on and do a show, and he does another show, and he's enjoying it. And then one day, the Sunday news, this is back a ways now, this is before the stuff, every single one of the major Sunday news shows, and there's about 6, had him on the same Sunday. And they call that the full Ginsburg.
There you go.
Okay.
Got it.
And he did not handle himself very well, and it kind of blew everything sky high. And so that's the ultimate. I never am going to do a full Ginsburg. And so don't think of it that way. Just think about the ebb and the flow of who's in and who's out and who's in the Rolodexes. And so if you want to get in those programs, you have to get in those Rolodexes. If you don't, you're just waiting for them to find you. It doesn't work that way. So It's not a blackout, and it's not some above, from the top, controlled guest list. It is simply the way media has always worked in all issues. And so it doesn't bother me too much, though I definitely want to get on these shows.
Yeah, but it seems like these people, I don't know, it seems a little scripted to me. The script has been written and the actors have been casted, and that's all they're allowed. But we'll move along. What about, you brought up Bigelow, Robert Bigelow. What's his position, role into this game? Is he behind maybe some of these possibly leaked videos? Is he still a player? Is Robert Bigelow, he said in the 60 Minutes that they've always been here. They've been here all along.
Right.
And there was really no uproars coming from this billionaire, and really nobody even paid attention to those statements too much. Do you think he's still a player? Is he maybe part of the guy? Could he be the guy actually leaking these videos to Corbell and George Knapp?
I doubt
Where are these videos coming from?
Well, in terms of that, I don't know, but I doubt it. Look, Bob Bigelow is a billionaire, so he can do anything he wants. He's also had had a significant sighting event. There's some speculation he could be a contactee, but whatever. And he's very much interested, and he had the money to get into it. And so Bigelow, I actually have a photo of that was taken during the Rockefeller Initiative, 93 to 96, Clinton administration, when Lawrence Rockefeller approached the Clinton administration to try to convince Bill Clinton to go get the files and bring them out, which would have ended the truth embargo. And there was a team of researchers and so forth involved. And a bunch of them met at the Wyoming ranch of Rockefeller, Jackson, Wyoming, JY Ranch, to discuss strategy. I believe it was 94, could have been 95. And a photo was taken. It's a very rare photo. It's on my website, and it's a picture of most of the attendees to that particular day. And Bob Bigelow is in that photo, going all the way back to 94. So he has been involved, certainly since the Rockefeller Initiative. Before that, probably doing his own research and what have you. As we move forward, Bob's interest gets deeper and deeper. And one of the things that developed is that the Skinwalker Ranch came to his attention. There were UFO type implications there, as well as other phenomena. Activity. And he was somebody who's, I'll buy the ranch. So he buys the ranch, and he starts looking into Skinwalker Ranch. That prompts him to set up the National Institute of Discovery Sciences, NIDS, private. No publicizing on this, at least initially. Yeah. He's got some high-level people on board. This is all high-level stuff. This isn't the UAP ghetto that I have to operate in and everybody else. And so he's doing that for years. Eventually, he approaches MUFON and tries to do a deal with them.
Didn't he buy him out and infiltrate him a little bit? No. Gaining their information, he wanted to see it first.
Well, again,
before anybody else.
That's
right?
What happened was that he supported
research.
Supported them
he supported the information.
He provided information.
He provided money to get the information.
And he wanted access to what they found under the funded program. It is not clear to me that he demanded sole access or that he demanded it first.
He wanted it first. Before.
I
Who
don't
knows
know.
if he was cherry picking the best part? And then
I
he
can't
got
speak
it.
to that.
Didn't he get out of it afterwards? Isn't Robert Bigelow like one of the only private space corporations that has like the right to weaponize space? Is this?
I have no idea, and I seriously doubt it.
Yeah, I thought I heard that.
And by the way, let me be clear. I do not know that he had any special access. I know that he wanted access to the research that was being done under his funding. I know that the research funds were not being handled well. And that's shouldn't surprise anybody. MUFON has had its ups and downs over the years, and he pulled out. That's what happened. Now, this is the internet world, okay? Whatever happens, 400 theories come in to explain it. Well, they all can't be right. So I don't see a problem there, but again, what it shows is his interest was continued to develop. Then we learned, after the fact, that when the ATIP program was put together under the request of Harry Reid, the DoD put that together, and funding was put in there to do research. Bigelow was a recipient of some of that money. So he was tied to the ATIP program early on. And so you see, his involvement goes back. And of course, during that period, under a NASA contract, which I think started in 95 possibly, I think it was 95, he was trying to build, legitimately, flexible habitat vehicles for space.
Expandable, expandable
expandable habitats. A wonderful idea. The NASA had been working on that, and it just wasn't going well for him, and they just offloaded it to him. So he did it. So he's a space entrepreneur. He was a space entrepreneur before Musk, before Branson, and before Bezos. But in a more, I consider, pragmatic and realistic way, building these habitats, not building a rocket to Mars. So he's just totally into it. So not surprisingly, he made plenty of connections during those years.
But why hasn't he ever shared any of his information, really? Like if there's some things that he's, invested quite a bit. Like you say, more money than anybody else in this field. Yeah. He's put more of his own pocket money into it. But he's not public source with his information. He's just holding it close to the hip.
He is a private man with a private corporation, and he's keeping it private. And that's his prerogative. And as far as the NASA work, that's pretty much, he did talk about his space habitat program many times. He talked about that. I guess there were things.
But if he's finding the extraterrestrial existence or, some kind of portal into another dimension over there at Skinwalker, whether he's found it or not, there's no public source. In my opinion, that's a selfish thing. That's all I'm saying. It's not very.
I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I believe it was his right to be private, and he was. But given all that he has done for this field, the stuff he's contributed,
that he's hidden close to his pocket. He hasn't done anything. He's just putting money in and he's saving the information
a
for
lot
himself.
of what he did in the past is starting to get out. It just didn't get out at the time. It wasn't contemporarily put out there. And of course, he went on 60 Minutes 5 months before the TTSA announced. All right. And the people involved in the TTSA, when they went public, when they announced, I assure you, they were under severe restrictions. There were things they simply could not say and could not do, and he knew that. But he wasn't a member of the TTSA. But so going on 60 Minutes, knowing what they were going to ask him, he just made the decision. He had plenty of time to make this decision. He made the decision, I'm going full bore here. I'm going to say there's extraterrestrials. Why? Because I can say it, but Luis Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and the other guys cannot say that.
Sure.
And so what he did was, he said, look, I'm saying it. When the stories come out, people will learn that I was kind of connected to it. And so do the math, people. I'm saying there's ETs here. They're quite not saying it, but it's a good chance they know that. And that gave it more gravitas, which is pointing out that what's going on that is troubling some people is this is three-dimensional chess. If you can't play three-dimensional chess, just basically sit back, watch the game, see how things unfold. But if you're going to try to figure out the game and you can't play three-dimensional chess, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I know you're busy, man. You're still going to be in Los Angeles for a while, so hopefully we could meet up with you in another day or so and
Sure.
continue this, extraordinary discussion.
Now that I've formally met both of the Cousins boys, I'm looking forward to our next get-together.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stephen. We'll
My
talk
pleasure.
to you. Yep.
My pleasure.